you're in a hallway and you're watching Captain America struggle with one guy while
Yeah.
she's kicking the crap out of 6 guys in the
Yeah.
same hallway. It's like, what?
Yeah.
It just didn't work. What's up, Captain
What is up,
Screw?
Captain Screw?
It is Matt and John here. We are going to be doing our spoiler review for Captain America Brave New World. So if you guys have not seen the movie, or maybe you don't care, but if you have not seen the movie, then come back later, I guess. Or if you don't care, then watch us. If you've seen the movie, watch us. Comment below on things that you think we got right or wrong. It's all opinion based.
If you haven't subscribed already,
Oh yeah, of course.
tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your loved ones, tell your average Joe, average Christina,
if you like Captain America
across the street, your friends of a friend.
Subscribe. Also check out, we're doing some reviews and reactions to other shows and movies, and doing hopefully a once-a-month podcast as well. So let's go ahead and just talk about this movie. Jump right into it. Okay. We're going to talk about the strength. We're going to
Captain America Brave New World.
Yeah, the strengths, the negatives, and then we'll talk about a couple of different characters that we wanted to talk about. So let's go ahead and talk about the strengths here. What was that? You showed off your shirt? John, I want you to start with the strengths because I can't think of many. Okay, so I
got it. I know. I actually got it.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, one strength of the movie that I actually liked, because I was going into this movie with subpar expectations, as probably any movie after Endgame. Typically, like, that's the feeling that you should be getting, except for Spider-Man 3, No Way Home. But, you know, expect subpar expectations. It actually was slightly better than subpar expectations, and I was happy with that. And one of the reasons is I thought the directing was really good. Like, pretty, not real. I'll rephrase. It was good. Okay. It wasn't like, you know, Oscar worthy or anything like that, but like I appreciated a lot of the cuts and the angles in certain scenes, especially with like Sidewinder and and with the some of the fight scenes. I thought the directing was pretty good.
I will say about the directing, I don't know if this has to do with more of the directing or more of just the overall plot. But I think one of the big strengths, I don't think the directing was great. I don't think it was horrible, but I don't think it was great. We'll talk about the writing later, but I think the plot of the movie was solid.
The plot
of the movie. Like, if you were to ask me, like, what's the strongest, like, behind the scenes part, like the directing, like anything they probably did pre-production, what's the strength? I would have been like, well, they put together a pretty good plot. So, you know, and just the idea of pinning the two nations against each other that were kind of having a peace treaty, with Stearns kind of having that mastermind plan. And then in the background, he had kind of a personal agenda with Thunderbolt Ross. And he, you know, the way they incorporated that into him becoming Red Hawk. Like, I thought that was all done well. Could have been done probably better if they did a couple of different things, but you know, I think overall that was probably one of the strengths of the movie. I will say I went into this movie being like, I think my biggest, like, I wouldn't say nerves, but like, you know, my biggest, like, well, we'll see what happens is like, is Anthony Mackie, Sam Wilson going to be thought of Captain America afterwards? And I don't think he was.
No.
I think when I walked out of the theater, I was like, he's not Captain America, right?
No.
But I will say, Anthony Mackie did a great job in the movie, playing, like, doing the role he needed to do. I think that was one of the strengths. I think that probably the strengths was the acting of the two leads. But it's really funny because we'll talk about him in a minute, but Harrison Ford was that character was recast under Bill Ross. So really we have like Captain America and the villain of Captain America, or, you know, the main two characters weren't really even like the characters. Like, you know, like we have thought, like, in our mind we think someone else is Captain America, and in our mind we think of someone else as Thunderbolt Ross. So it's like very weird how that ended up happening. But I will say the acting of those two characters very much carried the film.
Yeah.
Same with Isaiah. I think he did good in the show. He was a character that came from Falcon Winter Soldier. I think he did a good job in this movie as well. But I think that was like the strong point for me, is like the main acting was good, the plot was good.
Mhm.
I mean, do you have anything on that, or is there anything else when it comes to like strengths?
I actually no. I mean, I overall agree with you as well as you're sipping your cup of Joe. But yeah, I agree with Anthony Mackie doing a good job for the role that he was inserted into. Same with Harrison Ford. I mean, Harrison Ford's obviously a well-renowned actor. He's been around. He's like 82 right now, 83 or whatever. And like, I wasn't expecting him to have a bad role. Except I will say, like, his speech making as president was kind of cheesy. Not gonna lie.
The beginning of it.
Yeah.
But again, so I would say this. I think one of the weak points, and that's why I was saying, plot was great.
Sure. Well, we'll get the dialogue. We'll get there. But like, I'm just saying that the acting of speech, because like he was a president before in Air Force One. He was like, "Get off my plane."
Yeah.
But I expected like a better delivery on his speech. So like, I give that to the character instead of necessarily the dialogue of the speech.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say, like, and you hinted at it, or actually you were kind of pretty direct, I guess, with like, it's kind of hard following Steve Rogers. It's very, very hard. And there was a reason Marvel did it. But with any replacement like that, it's hard to bring it up to the same level or close to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't think it lands the same. Like, he's just doing the job. There's nothing like necessarily that's inspiring. Like, towards, like, and we'll get to the ending, but in the ending scene, like, Joaquin's like, "I look up to you because of these words." I'm like, I don't see it yet.
I don't buy that. I don't see that.
Like, it was a good emotional scene.
Yeah.
But I'm like, well, tell me how he's this inspiring guy when it's only been one movie with him. So
I think that one of the bigger parts too of just because a lot of people are going to say, well, who was Captain America in the comics? You know, and that's going to be like that's the big thing people always say. And it's like, well, yeah, there's a difference between the comics and the movies. There just is, you know, hate it or love it. And some things don't work in the comics that would work in the movies, some, you know, and some things will not work in the movies that worked in the comics. And I think the average person, when they think of a character, they think of a specific person being that superhero character. Right now, it can work if you make a really good movie and do it the right way. So, for instance, they made a couple really good Into the Spider-Verse movies and a really good PlayStation game. And now people kind of accept, like, Miles Morales is also a Spider-Man. Peter Parker is our Spider-Man. But Miles Morales is kind of Spider-Man too. Cool. But the problem is that when you do that and the movie's not great, like, I'm not saying, like, some people might see, like, this movie's really good. I don't think anyone's walking out of this being like, this is as good as Winter Soldier. You had to do that for people to walk out of this movie and be like, oh, this is our new Captain America. You had to make another movie that impactful, because I remember going to see the first Avengers, and I remember like walking with my friends who are now huge Captain America fans. They were like, Captain America's cool, but like Iron Man, Thor, like I don't really know what they're going to do with Captain America. You know, Captain America 1 was, he's just kind of a strong guy. And then after Captain America 2, people were like, holy shit, Captain America, badass. You needed to replicate that story, that whole grand movie, to make it so when we walked out of this movie, we were like, Anthony Mackie's the new Captain America.
Yep.
You know, it didn't do that at all.
No. Do you think, I'm just asking a question. Do you think part of that is because he didn't take the serum?
Me and my friends talked about that. I I think they should. I can completely understand why he doesn't want to do it. And they made a big point in that in the movie, in the show, I should say. They should have incorporated something where very, very early in this movie he got the serum. Maybe it wasn't on his own. Maybe he was tricked as well somehow by the villain to get the serum. It's just, I mean, there's cool Wakanda technology, awesome. There's just so many times where I was like, man, you would have died. Like, you would have died. I mean, like, even when he like caught the pole towards the end, he like caught the pole with his bare hands from the Hulk. You're like, you can say all you want that you would have technology behind you, you know, pushing you. Your hands would have been crushed. Like, it's just, there's too many instances where you're just like, he's just a guy. And, you know,
that's what I was thinking of at the end of the day. He's just like a grade A, like not super soldier, but a like great fighter, great hand-to-hand combat using technology. He's just Falcon at the end of the day.
He's just Falcon. That's what he is. And I guess we'll just talk about the negatives at this point, because there, in my opinion, because there wasn't that many positives in my opinion of the film. I don't think the film was like god awful, but I walked out of it thinking more about the bad things than the good things, because for every one good thing, there was 3 bad things afterwards.
Right.
And even the good stuff wasn't like stand out. Like, I think the final scene, the final fight was solid. It was okay, you know. But again, I'm thinking the whole time, this is just a dude, you know? So it's like, for every good thing you give me, you're giving me like 2 or 3 now bad things, because now I'm like, I'm not nitpicking it, but I'm like, great fight sequence, kind of taken out of it because of bad CGI and that this is just a guy. So like, there was not a lot of things where I could sit there and be like, this is great. This is a 10 out of 10.
Right.
You know? So, I mean, bad stuff, I will say, because I have a feeling I'm just going to forget it. So I'll just start with this. And I'm not trying to be like, I'm not trying to come off as bad, like come off as in some type of way. But Shira Heiss, I think is her name, actress.
Who the hell is that?
Solid actress. She played Ruth.
Was that the chief of staff or the
she was the Black Widow. Yeah, she was the Black Widow.
Oh yeah, her. Oh, never mind. I was thinking.
Yes,
never mind.
She
the national security advisor.
Yes.
Yep.
She just was out of place.
I agree.
5'1", kind of.
She had the attitude. I'll admit she had the attitude.
No, she had, like I said, nothing against her acting.
Yeah.
But she's like 5. She's maybe 5'1".
Yeah, she was short.
She also has like a thinness to her. I don't know. One of my buddies told me that she had something. I'm not going to break it down or anything, but she just looks young.
Yeah.
And I think if you pass her in the street, she would just be, you know, a short petite girl. Cool, no problem. But for it, and look, she was a different role in this movie, no problem, because I don't think her acting was bad.
Right.
But when you're going to say that a 5'1" Black Widow with no super soldier serum, like it worked with Carly in Falcon and Winter Soldier, right?
Oh no.
Have you seen Falcon and Winter Soldier?
Yeah, but it's been
Carly was like a teenage girl, and she was like 5'1", but she had the serum, so you could say she had the serum, so she was a super soldier, so it worked. She doesn't have any super soldier. So you're telling me this 5'1" girl is just kicking the butt out of 6 guys that are just grown men, military trained, 6'2", 6'4", 220-pound muscled men like that?
Yeah, I didn't buy it. Yeah.
And you could buy it with Scarlett Johansson, because Scarlett Johansson is 5'8", and she also used a lot of like weapons when she also fought, so it worked. You know, she would drop kick somebody, get up, twirl around someone's head, throw something, electrocute 2 people at once, and it worked. This, you're in a hallway and you're watching Captain America struggle with one guy while she's kicking the crap out of 6 guys in the same hallway. It's like, what?
Yeah.
It just didn't work. But and you know, that's just my thing I wanted to bring up earlier.
No, I also didn't buy it either.
Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about with that, or any other casting choices? Then we can just move on to more negatives.
Well, it's the I was gonna say, like, there was like a scene that I didn't like. Besides that one, but it was the Stearns killing
Cap.
No, the army guy.
I kind of like that scene.
I didn't, because like it just came out of nowhere, and then like he just leaves. It just seemed so bland and tasteless.
Yeah, no, I get you. I don't like how the scene went.
That's what I'm saying.
Again, it comes back to for every one good thing, there's multiple bad things. Like I liked the scene overall because I was like, oh, here's this new character that might actually mean something. And I was like, is he going to be a bad guy? Is he actually going to be? And he's like getting information to find out what the pills are. I was like, oh, interesting. And then Burns comes out and kills him. You're like, oh man, like that's kind of badass. But then it's like, but then there were dialogue that didn't work. There was other things that didn't work at the scene.
Right.
Yeah.
So that one stuck with me. Because then he just walks away in the sunset after killing him.
And like the whole military base is like still there. Like you know what I mean? Like you're just saying you killed this guy in the middle of the military base, no one saw you, and you just walked away. Like
it just didn't.
And there was one scene that was later with what's his name? Stearns. And he was talking to Sam, and you could just tell it was a green screen behind him.
Yeah,
like it was like bad green screen. And I'm like, why don't you just do it from a different angle? And like he could be outside next to grass. Like, why did you have to do it in a green screen where you have the White House behind you or something was behind you?
And it's already a $200 million movie. Are you saying you couldn't afford to like?
It looked so bad. That one scene just looked incredibly bad. Now, it was when he was talking to him right when he got arrested. I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah,
and I guess to end this segment of the negativity.
Oh, I'm not done yet.
Well, I mean, we're still talking about. I'm just saying, like the plot. I think we can move away from.
Yeah,
we can always come back, but I think the quote from the movie that best summarizes the negativity.
Oh gosh,
but this whole thing is, "You're not Steve Rogers."
Yeah, that's true.
That's literally what.
But again, going back to Sam Wilson and Anthony Mackie is, I think the same exact movie happens, and you put in Chris Evans as Captain America, the movie goes up by maybe 1 point. The movie goes up maybe a little bit. Like this would still be a 60% Rotten Tomatoes. It's right now at 52, I think. Like it has nothing to do. I don't think the main negatives of the movie has anything to do with the guy who was playing Captain America and the actor that was playing the guy that was playing Captain America. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it has anything to do with Anthony Mackie, anything to do with Sam Wilson being Captain America. I think it has to do with other things that made it into a bad movie.
Yes, I don't disagree, but at the same time, it's like 1 point is 1 point.
No, 1 point. I just think I think if you made the same exact movie, but the star was Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man, and this came out right before Endgame, and it was Iron Man 4, and it was the same plot, same writing, same everything, still wouldn't have been a good movie. Just like how Iron Man 2, people give it its crap because it's messy and doesn't have good writing at times and a bad villain. I think it's the same concept. It's like a lot of people might walk out of this movie blaming, oh, it's Captain America. And like I said, you needed to make this into a top 5 MCU movie, like when Captain America 2 came out, Winter Soldier. We all looked at it and we were like, this is one of the best MCU movies ever. And it still is. It needed to be that for us to really, really buy into the concept of him being Captain America. But this just wasn't a good movie overall. From the CGI at times to the writing.
The writing was pretty bad.
The writing was bad. You said you liked some of the fight sequences. I think they did a good job with the last fight sequence with the Hawk, although some of the CGI was bad and it was kind of messy at times. But it was fun. I think the flying sequence over the Indian Ocean, I believe it was, I think that was done pretty well. I think that was a pretty cool scene. I think majority of the hand-to-hand combat, especially the first scene, was kind of rough. I didn't think it was great.
No.
I think Sidewinder, when he fought Sidewinder in that like junkyard, I think that was a fine scene.
Yeah.
But it goes back to you got stabbed in the gut and in the chest and you were just fine. You're just a dude.
Yeah.
You know, if you were Captain America and you had the serum, I would be like, okay, cool. You know, even if there was a part where he stabs him and he looks up at him and he's like, you took the serum, didn't you? And then boom, he hits him and he walks away. And then there's a flashback of him getting in the serum or something. It's like, okay. No, I mean, like, it's like, okay, maybe that would have been a cool way of introducing it. But like,
Right.
It was just like, you're telling me this is just a dude and he got almost blown up, stabbed in the gut and in the chest, and he's still just going full. He's fighting the
Yeah.
Hawk 6 hours later.
I noticed that.
Like,
I noticed that too.
it's
With the
just
stabbing.
yeah.
It was bad.
It just takes you out of it. You know, it's just.
Well, one thing to consider, and I don't know if you realize this, but this was
Mhm.
a like 20 to 30 minute less short a runtime than the other Marvel movies. This was an hour 58 minutes.
Yeah, well, a lot of them have been lately. I know Thor 4 was kind of short. The Marvels was super short.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Marvels, they could have shaved a scene or two, and that could have been that could have been a finale of a show. Yeah. So I mean, I think what they're doing is they're making them shorter. They're trying to tighten them up because I don't know if that's their way of saying that even if it's bad, we can make it average. I don't know. Because for the while, for phase 2 and 3, whenever there's bangers, they were all 2 hours and 30 minutes, 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Yep.
But now they're an hour 30 minutes, an hour 40 minutes, hour 50 minutes.
Well, no, I don't. Wasn't Black Widow like 2:10? Wasn't Black Widow? I know Spider-Man was definitely 2.5.
Yeah. Well, I would say this. I think that Marvel for 134 minutes. So yeah, 210. I would just say that Marvel has, in my opinion, when it comes to event films, right? If there's multiple characters in the film, right? Spider-Man, Deadpool, and Wolverine. You could even say Doctor Strange because Wanda was in it. Like these seem like event films where you're like, wow, you got to watch a bunch of different shows and movies to kind of understand exactly what's going on. Those were longer and felt better. They felt like the studio knew what they were doing going into it. They were like, we're going to have we already have an idea. And I just felt like with this movie and a couple other MCU movies that aren't event films, they were just like, we need to make a Captain America movie. About what? Don't really know. You know, like I mean, they even casted the actor that plays Sidewinder. I always forget his name.
Giancarlo Esposito.
He apparently was casted super late in the film, and it's like
I thought he was cast relatively. I remember he was cast a while ago.
I think he was casted pretty late, and that's because the theory is that he came in for reshoots, and so like they might have not even had him in the movie originally, and they were like, we need to put something else in. I mean, even the plot, I like the plot, but people make the argument, and I understand it, is that like this felt more like the Hulk 2. Like you had the villain from the first Hulk, you had plot lines from the first Hulk, you have the Hulk's daughter, you know how you have Thunderbolt Ross in it, you have his daughter in it, and it felt almost like they wanted to make a Hulk 2. They wanted to do something with the new Captain America, so they kind of blended the two together. And it was like, again, I didn't hate the plot at all. I actually think it was one of the strong points, but I felt like they wanted to make a Captain America movie, but they didn't know what to make it about.
Yeah.
Where back in phase 2, 3, even 1, they always had an idea ahead of time. It felt like they always felt like they knew what they were doing next. They had a plan. You know, if I made this movie, I would have went to Kevin Feige and been like, what's your plan for the new president? Because Thunderbolt Ross at the end of this movie is not president anymore.
Nope.
So who's the new president?
Who's the vice president?
Who's the vice president? Because then we put his name on the banners underneath Thunderbolt. We don't know who it is. We don't know who it is. We got theories, but that would have been really cool if there's a character in the comics that's corrupt, or if there's just something that fans could say, it says Ross, or President Ross, and then underneath of it, it says someone else's name, and we're like, oh, holy crap. And then at the end of the movie, we're like, he's going to be the next president. Holy, that's going to be
he or she, but yeah.
He or she, you know, and it's like, that is something that they used to do. And it's just, and it's not a big deal, but those are small things that fans used to love, and they don't do that stuff as much anymore.
Right.
I guarantee you, whoever made this movie did not watch Secret Invasion on Disney Plus. And that had a lot to do with the government and the president, you know, before this Thunderbolt Ross, you know? So it's like, you know, I think that's, I'm not that that's a negative, but I think that is like the overarching negative why we've been getting a lot of 6s from Marvel.
Yeah, you're right. No, they've been 6s.
When the event films of Doctor Strange and Captain America, or Deadpool, Wolverine, and
Spider-Man,
they were like 9s, and you're like, why can they not consistently do this? And it's just like I just feel like they don't have an idea what to do with some of these characters, and they're like, we have to put out movies, but we don't know what to do with Captain America anymore. We don't know what to do with the new Hawkeye. Like, we don't know what to do with Captain Marvel.
Is it sad to say that I don't, and maybe you can counter it, but the next event for Marvel, the next big event, whatever it, besides maybe Spider-Man, but do you feel like it's not going to be as much of a moneymaker anymore?
I mean, this movie wasn't. I mean, so
I'm talking about the event ones. Like do you like if they make like Secret Wars or whatever, the new one, like, do you think it'll be a moneymaker? But do you think it'll be? I'm not even saying like it'll reach Endgame or Infinity War levels.
It just won't hit its max potential. Yeah.
Well, but do you think? But do you think it's going to be like, it's a $200 million movie, and it makes? Do you think it reaches 1.1 billion, or do you think it's going to reach like 750 million?
Yeah, I mean, the way I almost look at it is they're putting out a new Jurassic Park movie, right? And that movie's going to make money, right? It just most likely will. Like, you're probably talking about $220 million budget, probably another $150 in marketing. That's what, 370. Movie theaters take their costs. You probably need about 550 to break even. Cool. That movie's going to make $550 million worldwide. It just will, right?
Probably.
It'll probably make about 700 million. But when Jurassic World came out, it made like 1.4 million. Why has it lost $700 million of revenue? Well, audiences don't care about the franchise anymore. They don't trust it anymore. They don't trust,
no.
And so I think it's going to be the same thing. I think people lost their trust. You're seeing $88 million opening weekend with Captain America, Brave New World. And I can talk about why I disagree with what some people are saying when it comes to how that's a success. But, it's not a success. It's not a success at all. To put into consideration, you have a Black Panther 2. People went into that movie knowing that the main lead was not going to be the same character as the first Black Panther. It was not going to be. It was going to be a sister. Just like how people went into this movie knowing it was not going to be Chris Evans. It was going to be Sam. Black Panther 2 made 188. This movie made 88. So, domestic opening weekend. I just think people lost their trust. I think it's going to be the next event, because they have time, right? So they have Thunderbolts is next. Then they have Fantastic Four. I think after Fantastic Four, there's one more movie and then an Avengers movie. I might be wrong there, but I think after Fantastic Four, there's one more film. Maybe not, because it comes out summer 2026
with the Secret Wars.
Mm-hmm. It comes out next year. Like, it comes out in like 14 months. So to be honest, it might be. It might not be. They might be two more movies and then Avengers. So, I mean, the movie's going to still make money.
Yeah. It's just about like how much money. Like, do you think they're going to do a 30% loss? I'm saying, like, do you think it's going to be like a 30% loss?
It all depends on how good the movie is too. I mean, I think opening weekend wise, it'll still do good. It'll still be probably around 200 million, right? Because I think the people will still be, Marvel fans will still be interested. They'll be still interested in it. The name brand's big enough. And remember, a lot of people aren't like me and you that are watching every Marvel movie and catch up with everything. A lot of people are like, well, the last Avenger movie was great. Yeah, I saw Spider-Man. I saw 2 or 3 of these new Marvel movies, but I haven't really been watching all of them. But I really want to watch the next Avengers movie.
Right.
But it's all going to be based off of, is it a good movie?
Yeah.
Because it's legs. Like, the majority of it's going to be legs. So I could see it being a very high 190s, like a 196 opening weekend, and that domestic, and then worldwide at the end of its run, it making like 1.9, 1.8 million, a tad under what Spider-Man did.
You mean billion?
Billion, sorry. 1.8 billion, 1.6 billion, something like that. Like above 1.5, but not 2. If it's under that, if it's like barely at 1 billion, then the MCU is in trouble, to be honest.
That's what I'm at. That's what I'm trying to get. I'm trying to dig deep with that. I'm trying to ask you, like, what do you think that number is to be considered a failure
for Marvel?
For Marvel,
for an Avengers movie?
Avengers movie or Marvel in general? I guess like the event movies.
Let's just say the event. Let's just say the next Avengers. I think if it does under 200 million opening weekend, it's a failure. And I think if it does under 1.5 billion, it's a failure. Not
like
legit.
Total. Yeah,
not legit in the sense of like money breaking even wise. Like this movie is going to break even, but like, well, maybe. But the problem about this movie is, I don't know. This might not be a fact, but this is just my opinion. You're looking at domestic of $88 million. Week 2 probably make about half of that. You're not getting too much overseas money. Why? Because it's called Captain America.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this isn't Avengers. This isn't Godzilla. This isn't, the next Transformers or Jurassic Park movie. It's called, I don't know how many people in China are watching this movie.
No.
Because it's called Captain America, and I mean, that's probably why all the other Captain Americas didn't do the money they did.
Right.
I mean, Captain America 3 did a lot, but Iron Man's in that movie and, all these other characters. So, yeah, I would say that because the way I look at it is if the next Avengers film doesn't even hit 188, which is what Black Panther did, then that's telling you that like the audiences you're losing faith in your audience.
Right.
So real quick, a lot of people are like, well, this movie did less than Captain America 1 and less than Captain America 2. So that's a positive thing. 88 million. Captain America 1 did like 70 or something. Captain America 2 did 80. But my thoughts is that opening weekend, the box office tells you what the audience thinks of the movie, right? They're going to see the movie. The opening weekend tells you what they think of the previous movies, right? Or the previous movies or the franchise overall. So when Captain America 1 came out, no one really knew who Captain America really was. Like they did, but not really. And they didn't even know that there was going to be a cinematic universe at this point.
No.
Like some people did, but like the average fan was like, "Oh, I'm just going to go see this new Captain America movie."
Yep.
Captain America 2 came out kind of having the same mentality I did after the first Avengers, which is I liked Thor, I liked Iron Man, Hulk's awesome. Captain America, he's kind of a Boy Scout. Yeah, he's, whatever. And Captain America 2 was great. And then you loved Captain America. So then the next Captain America after that had a great opening weekend because everyone loved Captain America. But going into the second movie, people didn't love Captain America yet. So it only made $88 million opening weekend. It ended up making a lot of money because people went back to see it. There was buzz and the movie had long legs. This movie, people don't trust Captain America because 1, it's not Chris Evans, but 2, we've gotten a lot of 6 out of 10s from the MCU. So people just didn't trust it was going to be a good movie. So that's why it made that's why, because this movie made less than a lot of MCU films in the past. And so people keep saying like, oh, it's a box office success. Not really. I don't think the studio's happy at $88 million. I think anything under 100, they're very disappointed.
Yeah.
So let's see. Anything else you want to talk about? Sorry, I kind of went off topic with the money.
It's important.
No, it is. What did you think about the new Falcon?
He has potential. I like Joaquin. I think he's underrated.
Really, you do? You like him?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
I think he's underrated.
Yeah, I think the comedy did not land with him. I don't think it did.
Remember the comedy with it?
There was a couple scenes where, did anyone see that? Or, there's just a couple scenes that it was just his comedy didn't land. He was supposed to be the kind of comedic relief. And because it didn't land, there was no comedy in the film overall, which is fine. But his comedy didn't land. I will say, I think there is potential with him if they can do stuff with his character. I liked him more in Falcon and Winter Soldier. When he was in Falcon and Winter Soldier, I liked his character. And then they tried to like make him into like a cheaper, funny character in this movie where he wasn't that at all in Falcon and Winter Soldier. Like he was what Falcon was. And he was never like a jokey guy in Falcon and Winter Soldier. So like they just like try to make him into like the comedy relief kind of character. So they can go back to what he really was and when he got introduced.
Right.
I think they could do that could be probably better. So Captain America: Brave New World made $7.2 million last night. It'll probably make. Oof, that's rough. It'll probably only make. It only made $7.2 million last night.
That ain't good.
That is a 68% drop from week 1 to week 2. It'll probably only make about maybe 20 million week 2. So after 2 weeks, it'll only hit $108 million domestically. It needs to make about 400 million to break even after 2 weeks. And again, that's okay, but I don't think worldwide it's going to be any better because his name's Captain America.
No,
I don't think this movie is going to make a bunch of money in China or Russia or
Europe might have some.
Yeah, it'll do well certain places. It's just like, you know, when you think of like Transformers always does mid in America. And then you're like, how the heck did this movie make $1.4 billion? And it's because it kills over in China and all those different Asian countries, you know? And so you're looking at Jurassic World. People are like, why are they making another Jurassic World movie? Because those movies destroy overseas. Those movies, I mean, they don't have to show it in America. It'll probably make 700 million.
Right.
So that's why they just keep pumping them out because they're like, that's why they made 7 Transformer movies because they just kept making $1 billion because overseas ate that crap up.
Right.
But they're not going to do that. I mean, Captain America is not doing that. So, yeah, this movie's going to bomb. Oh, gosh. And
here's the thing. Well, here's the thing, though, with these type of movies, it was like the same thing with the Bob Dylan movie. They keep it in theaters longer than usual just so that they can milk it. And so they're like Brave New World will be on. It'll be in the theater for a while. It's not gonna like more than a month.
Disney has an advantage from other studios because they control their streaming service. Because other studios can't do that. Other studios might put something out and they already have a contract with, like, their studio already has a contract with Netflix saying, hey, we can only have our movie in the movie theater for 6, at an X amount of capacity for 4 weeks. And then we can have a limited, like, 10% capacity after 4 weeks for another 2 weeks. But Netflix is like, we're expecting this movie to be in our streaming service by April 1st.
Right.
And so Disney, they can do whatever they want because they own. Now they might have contracts with, like, for instance, the whole Scarlett Johansson lawsuit. They might have contracts with the actors when it comes to how much money we give you and, like, hey, we have to have this in the theaters for at least 3 weeks because you get a percentage of the box office. So, like, they might have that, but that's probably a very limit. That's probably only the big Scarlett Johansson and Chris Hemsworth. And I doubt they have that with Anthony Mackie. So they could put this probably on the streaming service next week if they really wanted to. Or they could not do it until Thunderbolts comes out.
Right.
So
that movie is going to be interesting. I don't know. It's going to be more of a comedy for sure.
My friend Kian, who said this, and I thought it was a very smart thing he said. He said he thinks this movie's when I walked into Thor 4, I remember watching it and I said, this movie has the biggest potential to be the biggest disappointment in Marvel history because the potential is Thor Ragnarok is still a top 5 MCU movie in my opinion. It made Thor it made everyone love Thor, right? Hate it or love it, Thor went from a character that people liked to people loved him afterwards.
Right.
So I was like, it has a potential to be a 9, a 10. It ended up being like a 4, in my opinion, right? Or something like that. It ended up being such a huge box office, a huge disappointment. This movie is the opposite in the sense of
it had low expectations, but did slightly better.
This movie is not going to be, most likely, not going to be a 9 or a 10.
No.
But it has the lowest chances of being like a 6. I think it's going to be like a 7 or an 8 because you have characters that we like already milked in, right? Like most people like Bucky. Most people like Yelena. Most people are really intrigued with Ghost. A lot of people like I think it's Red Russian. Red.
Yes.
I don't like him, but a lot of people like him.
Yeah. David Harbour.
Yeah. John Walker. People walked out of Falcon Winter Soldier being like, I'm interested to see more of John Walker. So I think there's a lot of likable characters, and you don't know anything about the plot, so there's no expectations of,
Right.
there was expectations going into this of Red Hulk. There was expectations of certain things. You have no idea what this movie is going to be about. So even if it sucks, if you're like, I had a fun time, you might give it a 7. And you're like, I didn't think I was gonna have I wasn't expecting anything from Thunderbolts. So, I mean, kind of like the Marvels, to be honest. I walked into the Marvels having no expectations. I didn't love the movie, but I walked out of it being like, a couple good fight sequences. The girl that plays Miss Marvel killed it. She was hilarious. Decent after credit scene. Like, I only give it like a 5, but I was expecting like a 2. So, I guess I'm a happy guy. You know what I mean?
I gave it a below a 5. I didn't
like
it.
I didn't, and like I said, I would say it's a definition of I don't need it, but I had fun enough where I was like, okay, but it exceeded those expectations of this is going to be the worst MCU movie ever, right? So I go into Thunderbolts kind of thinking the same way, which is no expectations. This isn't going to be. This probably won't even matter. Half these characters are all side characters, but I could also see it being a fun time. Like, if they have good chemistry, they're already fun characters. If there's a couple good action sequences, if it's well directed, even if you walk out being like, dude, if I walk out of this movie being like, it's an 8, then it's like, this is the biggest win. That would be the biggest win Marvel had since Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Because everyone was kind of expecting Deadpool to be good to great. And some people didn't.
It met and a little bit exceeded expectations.
Right, everyone was expecting that. Everyone was even expecting Spike. I don't know if there's been a movie that MCU's put out yet that has not only exceeded expectations, but was also good. Like, there's been some movies that exceeded expectations, but they're still not that great. But the expectations were just so low. Because like Guardians 3, people were like, "This should be a good movie," and it was. Right, James Gunn. We already, it's part of a franchise we already like. So, yeah, I don't think there's been a movie yet that's like. Yeah, goddamn. But all right, well, we kind of stopped talking about Brave New World and just vented about Marvel for a couple of minutes. Anything else you want to talk about this movie before you do your final rating? Your overall thoughts, and then give the rating.
That's about it.
Yeah. All
right. Can we talk about the end credit scene? How that was not worth it?
Yes.
How that was not worth the wait of 8 minutes?
Yeah, you could have just made that into a mid-credit scene. Well, the problem is that someone made this argument. They said, I'd rather have almost nothing than give us something, and then it either leads to nothing or it gets scrapped, or like it's still like, for instance, the Thor after credit scene. It's like, cool, Hercules. When the hell are we going to see Hercules next? There's not even a Thor movie planned yet. Like, they're not even in pre-production of a Thor movie. That happened 2 years ago.
Right?
Like, is he going to pop up in an Avengers movie? Like, or is he going to come up in Phase 7 in 2028 when that movie came out in 2023?
Right.
So, or something that's completely gets scrapped. Like, they've scrapped so many things with King. So it's like, you almost rather get something that's not a big deal, but then it doesn't, at least it leads to something.
Right.
Kian said this, going back to my boy Kian. One of the reasons why Marvel also is not being as loved is because they keep having these things that they keep having these story arcs that never there's no payoff, right? Like, it's like you're leading into something and then there's no payoff, right? Like, they're literally hinting at stuff back in Eternals, Black Panther 2. None of it's paid off yet. And Marvel did such a good job at leaning into something and before really introducing something else to be a payoff, right? So it's like, I would have said my after credit scene would have been, what was the last movie we saw? One of the last movies we saw from the MCU, the Marvels. The last after credit scene from the Marvels. Kate Bishop walks in. Go Bills. Kate Bishop walks in, and I always forget her name, but Miss Marvel, who, by the way, the actress does a fantastic job with her. She goes, I'm putting together a team, and it ends. This movie, we talked.
Wait, who? Who's Miss Marvel?
Miss Marvel, the girl, the teenage girl. I always forget her, the character's name. I always just call her Miss Marvel. Miss Marvel. Kamala, I believe her name is, maybe. I type up cast and it doesn't.
Yeah.
Now it's gonna bug me.
That's okay.
But she does a great job, right? And she says, I'm putting together a team, right? It would have been, and they talked about the Avengers in this movie, right? For like a split second. So I don't know why I can't find the actress's name. Whatever. It would have been great for the after credit scene to be that something along the lines of Captain America.
Mm-hmm.
Captain America, just say Captain America. Ooh, ooh, I'm changing a new leaf.
Yeah.
Sam either being mad or something happening where he walks into a room and he talks to Ruth, I think her name is, and is like, I thought you guys said you weren't going to be putting together a Captain America or Avengers team. I thought you guys were going to ran that by me. We had a discussion and we're not doing it. And they're like, she's like, what are you talking about? Like, or maybe vice versa. Maybe she runs in and talks to him and says, how dare you put together a Captain America team without us? And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm not putting together a Avengers team. And she has some type of tablet or something, shows him. She goes, what's this? And it's a security camera. And you see Miss Marvel, Kate Bishop, and the young Avengers have already put their team together fighting crime. And you're like, and it like pans up to him and he's like, we're gonna have a problem or something. And it ends. And that's payoff from when they said we're putting together a team. And now you're like, okay, cool. Now we're gonna go into the Avengers movie with Falcon and really Falcon with Captain America. And he's going to be addressing this new put together Avengers team. And he's going to confront them and maybe form a real new Avengers. So,
yeah. Well,
Kamala Khan is her name.
Okay.
Kamala Khan.
Whatever her name is.
That bugged me so bad. All right. Well, anything else you want to talk about?
No.
What's your rating out of 10?
I think I gave it a. I because I put it in our little group chat that we're in.
Yeah.
I think I gave it like a, or maybe I didn't. I don't think I put it there. Maybe I might have. We'll see. I want to say it was about like a 6.4.
6.4. Okay. Yeah, I would give this movie probably a 5.5. A tad over like average. Like if you were to say good, bad, average, I would be like a hair over average.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, Cabbage Crew,
thank you for tuning in. This was the Captain America Brave New World review.
Long review.
Yes, we apologize.
No, we don't.
Well,
see you guys.
Subscribe. At the Shit.